しくて寂しくてあの日こぼした涙も嬉しくて愛しくて思わずあげた声も全てが音になってくまっさらな空の五線に吹き抜ける風跳ねる心の耳へ爽快だあれぐらいどんな時だって歌は止まないずっとそうだったように青く青く透き通るメロディを今産声を聞かせてI just don't wanna let you inside of me. Don't get aggressive, give me emotion. 行く手を阻む高い壁でちょうどあいつにしよう全てがつながっていく美しい私組曲アトラ小説続く呼吸のハーモニー生まれ続ける歌の自由な翼になれあれぐらいどんな時だって歌は止まないきっとこれからも強く強くクレッシェンドかけて響け夢中でいいあれぐらい道はなくても歌をやめないたった一つの距離青く青く透き通る声の限り生きたまま聞かせて That's all we're gonna know That's all we're gonna know 私ののラララ That's all we're gonna know That's all we're gonna know 君の音 That song is never ending That song is never ending So I will never ending La la la
Good evening and welcome back to my dwarven fortress of Keskalokil, where we have been trying to tidy up all of the dead goblins, and the goblins have been making this difficult for us by turning up and dying at us. Actually, they haven't been making it. They haven't been dying that easily, and I have this slight worry that my population is slowly dropping as as each goblin attack brings us like 50 more dead goblins and one more dead dwarf. So I'm kind of wondering if we want to build better defences than just rushing out there clad in steel and hitting them. But on the other hand, maybe if I can actually organise my armies more sensibly, it'll work all right anyway. So yes, the current situation is that this railway all the way up here is working fairly well to shovel goblin bits into my atom smasher, though it's doing rather less well at getting minecarts back again. So my kind of hope is that now we will finish disposing of the dead goblin bits, and then we can start doing something more interesting. But of course another batch of goblins will turn up. Plus there's this enormous pile over here which doesn't currently have a railway connected to it. So possibly another job is to connect more things to the railway network. It looks like I have turned on, yes, I have actually started allowing the dwarves to put things into the dead goblin stockpiles. So I think quite a lot of what they're doing now is bringing in the dead goblins from over here and putting them somewhere more useful. So yes, that will happen anyway. But since this is the other place where we were expecting to find dead goblins, we probably want to have some kind of connection to it. So yes, that's all happening, which is nice. Seems that mostly the dwarves currently are coming down here and collecting goblin bits from down here. Then, of course, we might want to work out a way to deal with all the armour they leave behind. Like leather armour is not very useful. We can sell it to trade caravans, but the thing is, trade caravans very rarely have anything we want anyway. So possibly it would be more useful to just scrap that as well, melt down all of the metal they bring into nice copper bars that we can hide somewhere, and yes, generally just try to squirrel away all of the stuff that we don't really want. We do also have a bunch of forbidden goblin body parts around here, which is kind of, we do want to dispose of all of them eventually, but possibly we just do that by unforbidding everything in this lot once we're in a position to deal with the things that aren't goblin body parts. Plus, of course, we have a bunch of parts of the things that the goblins brought with them, so like beak dogs and such like, that possibly also want to be disposed of. Still, yes, we're currently filling up this stockpile, which will then get transferred fairly rapidly into the rubbish dump. Yes, we made a few cages, which was in part because our mayor insisted on it. We don't actually currently have a militia commander, which feels a bit weird. Possibly I should appoint someone. Let's just stick you in there for no very good reason. Right. Well, I think there may be others, but they're already in the military somewhere. I'm not sure.
They've already been discovered.
Yes. Why is there a bag of chicory seeds in the mist generator? That's kind of weird. That's not overflowing yet. People are still getting into fights, mostly with the wildlife. Right, yes, I see. So yes, lots of people moving goblin bits though, that's nice. I mean, it would be nice if they could pick up more than one tooth at a time. I mean, in theory, we could just have them carry minecarts around, which might actually be more efficient. Don't know. Let's let it carry on for now and think about what else we want to do. So one thing I wanted to do was to have a means of experimentally launching goblins into the sea. So for that, what I think we need is possibly a fairly complicated system of walls to get the goblins out of their cages, and a ramp to accelerate a minecart up to a speed where the goblins will be expelled from their cages on arrival at the bottom. So let's just start constructing this. We'll do it as a couple of steps back from the coast. Is it going to go over? Let's have it go under the existing railway. So we'll build a couple of bits of wall there. And let's put a ramp there as well to allow us to build another wall on top, because I think what we want is one wall that will cause the cage to be ejected from the minecart, and then another wall that will cause the goblin to be ejected from the cage, I hope. There is a bit of a problem with this technique, of course. How do we get the armour off them? I suppose we can accept losing a bit of armour by hurling it into the sea, can't we? It's not like we're short of materials here. So then we're going to at least want some track back to somewhere around there. And then I wonder how many Z levels you need to accelerate a minecart to the point where things will get thrown out of it. I've no idea. Probably just have selected like use previous material there. Right, well those are all the bits I can build now because the next batch need to be higher up in the air, I think. Well, I suppose at some point we need the thing that we push I'm just thinking about how we move the minecart around. Now actually we could load it up here somewhere and then push it that way, and then from the top send it hurtling down there. We'd load it up just down here after it's been ejected, and then we wouldn't need to then the only trickiness would be that the dwarf who pushes it up the hill needs to ideally not be standing in the way when they push it back down again. But actually they won't be. I think they'll naturally go round the back of it. The dwarves should not ride. Oh, those are built already. Excellent. But we need the ramp before we can go upwards. So clearly we should make a small stockpile here. No, I want to create a new stockpile. Which will just accept if I choose cages, how do I... Oh, it's under animals, yes. Animals, goblins. And then if we also modified this stockpile to explicitly exclude goblins, then that should mean that all the goblin cages get moved from there to there, in addition to loading up any additional ones. Right, now we can build another wall. No. Build another wall there. once that yak has been moved, then we can, that wall will get built, and then we can go like this. So it looks like at the moment everyone is storing items in stockpiles, and no one is storing items in vehicles. Is that correct? Yes, that's fine. They'll end up in the stockpiles eventually, and then we'll be able to make progress. I mean, once the stockpiles are full, then people will start putting things in the putting the goblin bits in the mine carts instead. Possibly the stockpiles don't need to be so big now that we're now that we actually have the mine carts being useful, but it's not really a problem. The goblin bits have to be hauled across the map eventually, at least unless I start building a lot more railway track. I mean, we could just leave them littering the place, but it does make it all look rather untidy. Let's unforbid that skeleton because it's in the wrong place. Admittedly, there are plenty of goblin bits here that are still waiting to be put away that aren't forbidden. Right, so now the dwarves also started collecting up goblins here. No access. Why not? Like, there's a ramp that goes up there and up there. So, oh, yes, and then there. Oh, yes, of course. I was at the wrong level. I want to build a new wall here. That's better. Oh, we'll need to build a minecart track up that ramp in due course. So I wonder how many Z levels we need. I think we probably just have to test this and see what happens. Like, pick a number. Probably go up. I feel we want to go up at least 4 Z levels above the ground. We could go up to the same height as our existing roller coaster, couldn't we?
The goblin hurling.
Yes.
Plot.
So yes, the thing is we have to accelerate. We have to have a means of getting the minecart going fast enough that it will actually do something interesting on impact at the bottom. I was wondering if one of the techniques we could use to thin the number of goblins who attack us might be to make some very heavy minecarts and run them down long ramps and then fire them at the goblins. Like if we made a quantity of platinum minecarts, say, and some tracks that would go in the right directions. I'm not quite sure where we would do this for reasonable safety. Someone is doing another batch of building. There we go. So what's in that cage then? That's a goblin cage as well, but it's ended up forbidden for some reason. Right, let's unforbid that goblin cage so that one can be tidied away as well. There might be some automatic forbidding of... It's not there. Oh, is it standing order actually? Should put it under here. No, labour, standing orders, sieges and forbidding. Forbid cages from sprung traps during sieges, right. Is currently set, which is why that cage down in the southwest was forbidden. Don't know if any cages caught anything interesting up here. It's kind of hard to tell underneath all of the other stuff. I suppose they must be on a cage trap, so we only have to look at the cage traps. There's a cage there. And a beak dog cage as well. Well, we'll unforbid that one, though it's not directly helpful. Another forbidden beak dog cage there. That trap has nothing on it. That trap has nothing on it. We managed to catch a giant cardinal there. As part of my, just generally, I was preferring not to end up mincing all of the wildlife. So if we can get the agitated wildlife into cages, it is at least kind of safe then. So it's still waiting for someone to build the next bit of that minecart ramp. Don't think there are any biscuits. Okay, it looks like some of our usual tasks are still going on, even though we probably don't need them. Maybe we should forbid more things. But like, we don't actually have an excess of drink at the moment. I mean, we do, but it's not an enormous excess of drink. So I'm a bit reluctant to like turn it off. Right, so then we'll build, I think we'll build one more level of minecart structure that will have a track on top of it eventually. I think the number of dead goblins around the west gate is going down. I mean, obviously it must be, because people are moving them elsewhere, but it doesn't always look like it is. Right, so this is the height that we currently push minecarts to on the roller coaster, and that seemed to give you a fairly decent amount of energy. So let's now build a track up it. And then we can assign a minecart to it and try filling it with goblin cages and seeing what happens. It should be fun. Claire! Excuse me. Right, come on, build me some tracks. Thinking, shouldn't have objects that aren't dead goblins in this stockpile, but maybe allowing people to move them will just cause more trouble. I don't know. Right, the minecart track is mostly built. So we're just waiting for the last bit of that minecart track to get constructed. There it is, right. So now what I want to do is to make yet another minecart route. The goblin launcher. So it should have one stop. That's where the minecarts will naturally end up. That didn't work. How to stop there. So that one will then be linked to take from that stockpile. It will desire goblins. I think then the moment it has a noticeable amount of goblins in it, we should guide it south. And then there will be a second stop, which will be up here, where what will happen is that we will immediately push it north, at which point it go wee thud into the bottom of the ramp and should eject whatever was in it. All being well, the dwarf that pushes it will stay standing at the top of the ramp and not like run down in front of it and get run over or anything embarrassing like that. Maybe. And we need to assign it a minecart. Well, just in case something goes wrong, let's use a minecart that's already a bit battered. Right, so that might happen. We've almost filled this stockpile now, but there's a danger that when we do that, the dwarves will start hauling all the goblin bits to one of the stockpiles on the right, which I don't really want them to do. So let's temporarily block depositing items in those two. At least other than by moving them from the left one to the right one. Too many objects, but we can unforbid the bits of goblin, or apparently dwarf, that are lying around here. Possibly we buried one of that dwarf's teeth or something, at which point it didn't matter that the rest of them was lying out in the sunshine.
Earlier plays there are long descriptions of processions and things, but descriptions of the scenery are rarer. Jack and Ethan,
But yes, there are still plenty of teeth down in the southwest that can be moved up into this stockpile before we start filling things.
Not the teeth, I trust.
No. Minecarts with teeth. Not minecarts that have teeth. We're filling minecarts with teeth. This is obviously a sensible activity. Right. So, there's a minecart now in place. So now that minecart also is waiting to be filled with objects. So at some point soon we're going to hope that the dwarves switch to store item in vehicle tasks. In order to start filling the minecarts, including the one that needs to be filled with goblin. Actually, what I'm going to do, Cages, what I'm going to do is to temporarily actually set that to, actually we'll just remove that condition for now so that we can be watching when that minecart gets pushed down the hill. But it might take a little while for the dwarves to get around to filling it. Oh, they seem to be filling this minecart now. So of course, as soon as they start filling that one, it's possible to put more things into its stockpile. Are they also filling this one? No. Right, so now the dwarves are discovering that there's more space in that they can put in the stockpile to put goblin bits in, and so they're mixing, filling the minecart with bringing more goblin parts to put in the stockpile. Okay, it turns out, well, possibly because the job took a while to get scheduled, that the dwarves have put all of my caged goblins into that minecart. I didn't know you could fit that many caged goblins in a single minecart.
Can you now move the minecart, or is this particularly impossible?
Right, they have shifted the minecart up to the top of the ramp. Well, almost.
So if this fails to launch them all into the sea, it's going to make a spectacular mess.
Yes, right. So let us go back to that stop and add a launch condition, which is push off north immediately always. Then, well, I suppose we could try watching the minecart and seeing if someone will come and push it. Mostly, yes, someone is set up to do at least one of the push track vehicle jobs, so all being well, if I wait a bit. Someone will appear, I hope, stand on this square and shove the minecart north of them, rather than anything more confusing, like coming up to the square just below and pulling it. Come along, dwarves. Yay, whee! Well, that was impressive. I hope you saw that.
I looked down for a moment.
Well, you can see the spray from where objects landed in the water. I think we might have an injured horse, which possibly just got clouted by a minecart, sadly. Yes. But let's try to work out what's happened to the goblins. So one cage is still here. Is there anything still in the minecart? The minecart is empty. There appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 empty cages here, and one that still has a goblin in. So, like, clearly we've successfully extracted something from the cage. And here we have 2 drowning goblins in the sea. Here we have a goblin in a cage in the sea. Not currently drowning, no. Possibly the cage is keeping the water out. Here we have a goblin still falling in the sea. And here's another one. Yes, we have 3 drowning goblins on this level now. So yes, that appeared to be quite effective. We mostly extracted the goblins from the cages. They mostly landed in the sea. We've got one that somehow stayed in its cage on land, and one that managed to take its cage into the sea with it. And yes, I'm not quite sure how this lead cage is keeping the water out, but maybe it is. Right, and now the goblins are finally drowning. That was quite effective. I mean, this does mean we've left all of their armour in the sea, but no, the cages we mostly kept. So my suspicion is that the one whose cage survived, so I think we need a ramp here to retrieve that cage. I think the one whose cage survived in the sea may have missed that wall, because they're the one furthest off to the left. So I think we need to make that wall a bit wider. So let's do that by building walls there. And do we have to demolish that? Ramp, we probably do. Oh no, apparently we can just build on top of it, right. Oh, hang on, those walls are suspended in mid-air, that's no use. I mean, it's slightly useful. Actually, I do want that. Does that mean that if I build a more sensibly located ramp, say there, we don't actually need... I bet we can't actually build those walls like that, though, can we? No. No, that's wrong. Right, that's kind of weird arrangement so that I don't have to cancel that part of the stockpile. Oh dear, we appear to have a rotten, agitated, great horned owl mangled corpse. Let's see if we can get that dumped. So, yes, I think that lead cage is keeping this goblin alive, albeit underwater. Oh well.
Actually, accidentally put this goblin in a diving bell.
Yes, put them firmly out of reach.
Well, as long as they're not like pestering the dwarves and upsetting them, it's probably fine, isn't it?
Yes, I was hoping I could get the cage back, but I can't really get the cage back once it's gone underwater anyway.
How have you got most of the cages back?
Yes.
How?
By essentially, if a minecart hits a wall, it hits a wall hard enough, it ejects its contents 1Z level higher up. And if a cage hits a wall, it ejects its contents 1Z level higher up. So by having 2 steps, we can eject the cages from the minecart and then the goblins from the cages. And this mostly works, except you do get quite a lot of scatter, it looks like. I need to make the wall a bit wider, so that the upper wall a bit wider, so that the cages reliably hit the wall, because what happened in this case, I think, was one of the cages missed the wall and thus fell into the sea. One of them hit the wall but didn't eject its goblin, and so that cage is now back waiting to be reloaded for the next run, though.
And there's one that's in the sea with a goblin in it.
Yeah, and we're not going to be able to get that back. Well, not easily. Last time I tried to drain the sea, it was an embarrassing experience involving flooding the entire fortress. So I think those walls can now be built as well. And then that will give us something a little bit more solid to hit things with.
He just doesn't generally love maths. Normally he's quite good at doing maths things. He's talking about where all the can come from. So it's quite annoying because he keeps saying there's 2 for the set where we start.
So is that all? I think that may be all the goblin cages we've got, which is kind of.
He's not mentioned it, it's just already expert. He's carefully distinguishing subset from the not empty.
Right, there we go. Yeah, that cage is empty and so can be reused. Right, so yes, I think we do have a launching goblins into the sea technique, which is nice.
All at once, you now don't need a technique.
Well, that's fine. We've got cage traps. This gets us the cages back, so we can then reinstall them in the cage traps. And cage traps are a nice way of dealing with goblins because it means you don't have to fight them, and they don't leave zillions of body parts all over the place. The goblin comes out in one piece. I mean, I suppose magma might be more effective in that it causes the goblin to come out in 0 pieces.
But magma traps do come with extra risk.
And they require hauling all the magma up here, which is going to be a pain. Or I suppose trying to work out how to send the goblins down there. But yes, I mean, cage traps are very safe, which is a nice thing. So yes, we're still refilling that stockpile so that we can then hurl more goblins off it. But that's all working quite nicely. Right. So I'm kind of going, what could we do with our roller coaster? We should test what it does at the moment, but I think it launches a minecart somewhere over here. What could we do with our roller coaster, possibly in order to make it useful as a weapon? So we could arrange that we could fill it up with objects somewhere over here and then set it going and hope that the consequence is that a minecart ends up zipping out of the other side of the map and hurling the objects at some goblins. Or we just try to hit the goblins with some minecarts. I think we've seen that launching objects from a minecart has the advantage that you get quite a wide scatter of objects. And you can put an awful lot of objects in a minecart, as we have seen. I mean, there might be we are admittedly making this kind of impossible, well, at least a lot harder, the entertaining thing of filling a minecart with bits of goblin and using that to attack the goblins. But probably it would turn out that launching weapons at them is more effective. Maybe we could just fill a minecart with crossbow bolts. Wonder if that would be effective.
Do you think this game neglects to simulate which way round a crossbow is while flying through the air?
I think it's possible. I think it may merely go high velocity crossbow bolt. Well, that must be effective then.
Who knows where it went?
So, so if we wanted to do that, we'd need to have a means of like winding a minecart up to a decent height, and somewhere to fill it up that's reasonably safe. It's going to be quite complicated, isn't it? And it would depend a little bit on like dwarves doing what. Well, I suppose they don't have to do what they're told very much. We could have like several minecarts which we charge up, and then send. Then we can send them down the track. I'm slightly worried about what's going to happen at the end, like we'll presumably want it to land 1Z level below the ground, so that the objects get scattered at ground level. And I suppose ideally we'd have them launched by some means whereby we can do it from somewhere completely other, like underground. We still have unhappy dwarves, albeit not many of them. Possibly we should start teaching dwarves to swim again, given that we've got so few unhappy dwarves. But we do have Nish Resen Massos and Asen Sudurustuth, who both probably want to be in the Lardy Larks. Who was the other one? Asen Sedurustuth. Right. That will probably help. And of course means that they almost certainly can't ride minecarts, so we could... Where are you going? Presumably you saw something over there, but you can't see it now. So then we should be able to like start swimming training again. Can we remember how it works? So I think what we need is to mark so that's trying to remember the numbering. So that is the N1 signal, which controls those rollers. So we want N1 to show as occupied if it doesn't already. It does, and similarly S1, which does. So then we also want to empty at the very least, well, we want to empty all of 2, 3, 4 and 5. So we want to find N2 empty and pull that twice. N3 empty and pull that twice. Unforbid that. Dump that. N4 empty and pull that twice. And the current N5 empty and pull that twice. And similarly, S2, S3, S4, S5, and we want to pull, as I recall, N1 fill and S1 fill once so that they stay filled. Right. While we're here, let's try to clean some of the bits of dead animal out of the signal box. Because it's just untidy. I mean, I appreciate that dumping object jobs are quite low priority. But they're not going to happen at all unless I actually ask for them. I'm now losing track of which squares I've cleared. Or rather marked for clearing. I think that's most of them now. So, how's that entrance looking? Ooh, it's fairly tidy down here now. I mean, if you don't count the armour. Are still a few bits of dead goblin, but numbers are definitely going down. I seem to remember that if you hurl objects into magma, they do tend to actually melt into their constituent metals.
The only problem being that now those metals are mixed with magma.
Yeah, I don't know if they do it in a way that would ever allow you to get them back again. I was just wondering if there was a more efficient way of melting things down than by actually properly melting them in a smelter.
Have you got any magma?
Not yet, no. That would require some serious digging. Right, so we've now got the signalling system set up for loading for people being able to start swimming again. So let us go to the A series dwarf washers and I'm going to be brave and start riding them. This may turn out to be an embarrassment, but okay, why is there a minecart there? That feels like a bad situation. There's a task associated with it, so... Oh, those rollers are still running. Oh, I've got this wrong. Okay, yes. I've confused my track sections. Let's turn those back off again. Because I need, it's actually not one that I want filled, but 5, because we want the, because 1 is the exit signal from that, from the start section. Right, so let's let that sort itself out, and then we need to explicitly empty 1. Oh look, another batch of goblin parts is being loaded into that minecart. We are getting close to the point where there won't be many dead goblins around. Right, there is a small child pulling levers in the signal box. Well, some of the levers in the signal box anyway. Right, there we go. Now we can get 2 pulls on N1 empty and 2 pulls on S1 empty. N1 is now done, and S1 is now done. Right. We need that to close again. Right, done. Now let's re-enable Dwarf Washer NA and Dwarf Washer SA. And see if someone will come and start learning to swim. Oh, we've also loaded up the goblin launcher, but it's only 12% full, so it's just going to sit there until we get more more live goblins. Right, we have someone riding Dwarf Washer North. They can already swim, but like gets them some practice. And probably getting better at swimming is helpful. There seems to be an enormous stream of cats going back and forth now. Possibly someone who likes cats and thus has lots of cats is moving things. Right, so we now have the second Dwarf Washer underway. So that means we can now set NB and SB going. No, don't set it to push off. Where's the fun in that? Ride. Of course, these two dwarves are now going to be stuck until the... oh, this one's a novice swimmer, so they're actually going to benefit from this. We'll be stuck until we get all 4 minecarts in circulation. Right, we now have 2 people on the northern loop. So I suppose we can put NC into circulation. Still waiting for a second dwarf to join the southern loop. We have 3 dwarves on the northern loop. Right, so now what we want to do is to reset N5 fill.
No one's interested in the equivalence between 2 obviously false results and refused equivalent publishing. Fresh said, no one's interested in 2 obviously true results and refused publishing. That's some joke.
So, yes, we still want someone to...
Do you get no whether the results were false or true? And it was the equivalence between X
So is there now... There's now 1 minecart there, which is what we expect, yes. Good.
apparently choice of Isaac is known for the results doesn't know.
Like now, sort of sticks, really.
So, how's that going? Ooh, close. Why is no one riding the southern minecarts, hey? That's what I want to know. Oh, because possibly one of them's forbidden. Yes, it'll work a lot better if we don't forbid the minecart. Also, like, where is the third one? Fourth one, whichever. Is it also forbidden? Still, our dwarf who ended up at the front of the second loop is now really quite good at swimming. Right, so now we have one minecart there and one minecart there, but rather confusingly only 2 on the southern loop, even though there are 3 on the northern loop. So we have turned off N5 fill, so that means we can now safely set ND going. And that should mean that the northern loop is working properly. The question is, where is the which minecart is next? Which is that? Sandpear wood. So is that SC? Yes. So which is SD's minecart? Does SD even have a minecart? Why does SD not have a stop? Okay, I think SD has somehow got weirdly broken in that it doesn't appear to have either a minecart or a stop associated with it, which is obviously not going to work very well. So if we go add stop, the same place as all the others, and that I think will actually appear in the right place if I reopen this, yes. Then we want to assign that one a minecart, like that one. Oh, what's that one full of? Is it? Let's assume it's full of water. Well, maybe we shouldn't be quite that optimistic. Well, we'll wait until it arrives and then we can see what's going on with it. Like, if it's full of water, that's fine. We've deliberately arranged to have a system for emptying minecarts in the dwarf washer. Right, here's someone bringing us a minecart. Excellent. Let's see what it's got in it. Oh, but it'll empty itself the moment you put it there, won't it? Because that's a track stop. Right. So that Persimmon wood minecart is SD. There's not any reason why we can't set SC going, is there? Right, and someone has just gone in ND, which means, all being well, that a minecart should now return to here in a moment. Let's see if it does. Yay! Right, it is now possible to ride for the northern loop, at least seems to work properly. No, you can't get on that one yet. We need the next signal section to clear first. Right, and we now have 3 people on the southern loop, so now we can turn off S5 fill and then set SD going. And then everything will be fine for like 30 seconds until someone runs over that horse, which is for some reason in the swimming pool. Don't know why.
Because it's not just the dwarves who are awkward.
Yes. Pink Beast asks, is it the same horse in the swimming pool? It's been the same horse for quite some time, yes. It just didn't get out when I filled it. So now it's just stuck there. I mean, pretty much stuck there anyway. Only about 5 pits of goblins left in the west gate. That is quite a big pile of armour. Pinkby says, can it swim now? I don't know, I don't think so. Doesn't officially have any swimming skill anyway. Well, we're getting some new population. One of our horses has managed to give birth. Isn't very helpful. Wasn't meant to happen. Have I been failing in my obligation to press the geld button? I don't think I'm quite brave enough to geld an ocelot. Well, we can probably do it, can't we? I mean, it is actually fully tame, so. But on the other hand, if we get a breeding population of ocelots, that would be excellent.
Hesitate to ask what would happen to them, what they'd be useful for. Probably absolutely nothing.
We can train them for war.
Okay.
We could have war ocelots. On the other hand, should we be brave? I mean, it's quite tempting to suggest that they should attempt to geld. I mean, the armadillo actually is tame, so that won't be a problem. Geld a stray giant hamster. But it is semi-wild. I feel this might be a dangerous operation. I think we should wait until it's a bit better than semi-wild. Now, let's allow someone to adopt the lion tamarin if we can work out how. If they can work out how, rather. Right. So I think we're back to swimming training that might be functional. Oh dear, oh no, there are only 2 seriously depressed dwarves, and they're both members of the Lardy Larks, or at least they were last I checked, so. This will probably, they shouldn't go swimming simply because they will always have other things they ought to be doing. Right, there don't appear to be any dead goblin bits around the west gate. Those have all been recycled. Well, at least moved up as far as this stockpile, and they're now the final batch are being loaded into the minecart. So that's nice. Is that that is actually enabled. We are still putting water into the mist generator. last few bits of goblins from the western stockpile going in. Then is someone going to come out and finally deal with this bit? Oh, there is someone moving items into that minecart too. Excellent. Let's allow that stockpile to be filled up as well. Oh, it's early spring again. 16 years, I think, or 17 years. I can't remember what year we started in, since the start of the game. Heave. Saving gets gradually slower as the game gets bigger. I mean, possibly I don't really need the autosave, given that I like the sessions are really more than a year of game time long anyway.
It's interesting that your game is getting bigger, given that the population of your fortress is now 60 when it was once 200.
Yes.
Everything else outweighs that, I guess.
I think in particular, all the stuff going on in the world makes the world more complicated. Looks like they may have brought some clay. Thank you. Oh, and it's the start of the year, and so a bunch of animals have dropped dead. Really? Why do they always drop dead on the 1st of granite?
Clunk.
Yes. Happily, most of them seem to have dropped dead in obvious places, so
You can at least dispose of them quickly and sensibly.
yes.
This is a good point, actually. Pink Beast makes a good point. That didn't say those animals died on the 1st of granite. It said they were found dead on the 1st of granite.
Yes.
Maybe that's the day of the year when someone goes looking.
A vile force of darkness has arrived. It appears to be like 3 goblin mark spods. Let's summon the watery dwarves. I mean, if it really is that few, I don't think it's worth carefully waiting for them. Does genuinely, oh no, 6, but still only marks goblins. They are quite fast moving, that lot. The Mace Lord, who is conveniently on the correct side of the river already, dodged one crossbow bolt, was missed by another, and has immediately started beating up a passing goblin. Right, I think that's that goblin. No, that goblin is still alive. How is the Mace Lord getting on? Right, that's getting quite messy, isn't it? I think the thing about maces is that they don't necessarily give you a quick kill. Dead now, though. Is this entire vile force of darkness going to be dealt with by one Mace Lord? Well, we'll follow the Mace Lord and see how they do. Going pretty well so far. Right, well, the siege is officially over.
And has your martial trance Mace Lord survived this time?
Looks like it, yes.
I suppose your vile force of darkness is much smaller than the previous one.
Yes, yes. And also they were crossbowmen, so they had so they're much less good at mobbing you. Like they can try to pepper you with crossbow bolts, but
Fundamentally, the Mace Lord ran up to them and hugged them.
yes, and they seem to have pretty bad aim. So yes, I'll have a quick look at the combat log for said Mace Lord, but I rather suspect that there is going to be a lot of cyan here and not much orange.
What orange there is keeps saying mist.
Yes.
It stopped being a martial trance halfway through.
Yes, I think said Mace Lord got through the entire pile of goblins without being injured in the slightest. Currently claims a total of 40 goblin kills in total. One notable.
Well, having single-handedly defeated an army, I think Murphy's Law says now on his way back to the fortress and stub his toe.
Yes, yes. I think he can swim, so she can swim. Sorry, despite Lord, I think she can swim, and so the major danger, that of accidentally falling in the river, is not going to be a problem. I assume that the thieves got dealt with as well at some point. Possibly I should check. Oh no, there is one goblin thief still out there. It should be somewhere in the middle of the screen and the one person who isn't moving. Well, we can just watch their, yes, inevitable demise. Right, so now the entire fairly tiny invading army has been disposed of, and the dwarves can now tidy up. I think that means that there are somewhat more caged goblins to collect. If we have any forbidden ones, I can fairly efficiently unforbid them from here. Right, so now the remaining, any goblins we did manage to capture will be properly stored, ready for launch.
Estate, move estate.
Right, well, like things are actually going quite well. We still need to finish
We decided that Stoke was the nickname, and so I said yes, I would nickname for the park. Actually, it's Stoke. And I saw that we ran it in.
loading that minecart.
I don't know what I use the state. I did. Because they didn't create stupid words. Yes.
Uh,
Should be an option. I mean, probably somebody on that basis voted no, but yes. And then to be wrong. Yes.
some of these are still forbidden, that's why we can't get rid of them.
And another thing. Lots of another sort.
Indeed, it looks like the major reason now why goblin parts are have not been disposed of is because they've accidentally ended up forbidden. So that's nice and simple, if a bit tedious. Then we can probably start trying to do something about the gauntlets and such. I'm not quite sure what the efficient way to dispose of. That's a cat. Well, it still needs to be got rid of. That, on the other hand, is a goblin. I mean, possibly we could extend our disposal of goblin body parts to disposal of other creatures' body parts. But there aren't quite so many of those. Thought I spotted something on that square, but it's a bit... If I scroll this way, maybe I can see the object list and what I'm actually doing at the same time. I know I missed someone there. We'll fix them eventually. Right, that's at least some of them. Some of these, of course, are very fresh. Because they only just arrived. And at least that means we're probably, I think we only generally get one goblin siege per season. So that means we've got 3 months until they next bring far too many people. Spotted one fairly high up somewhere. Yes, there. Still only has 2 goblin cages in, so clearly we need still to find the rest. Oh yes, I should... They're already unforbidden, we just need to find somewhere to put them. I suppose I could tag some of the items for melting, that might get rid of them from just lying around here. And I suppose the ones that I don't care about, I don't really mind if I drop them into the sea. Like this is where I need to finish building the beach. Well, that should be... we want to cut that one away first. Our attempts at making a bit of a beach here so that people don't drown so often. Or an awful lot of dead dingoes here. Giant dead dingoes, indeed.
Sure, dead giant dingoes.
That's what they say, but wasn't the Dodongo a giant dead Dodongo? Or something like that.
Well, most things near your fortress are giant and dead.
It's true. The goblins aren't. The goblins are quite small. Oh, we've probably got some tribute delivered, haven't we? Let's go and have a look at that in a moment. Right, we need, if we want to. So apparently, if we want to get we can remove a creature from a cage by putting it in small creature from a cage by putting it into an animal trap. I seem to remember having this problem before, that there didn't appear to be any way to actually like release vermin-sized animals from cages, and so you essentially ended up indefinitely moving them between trap and cage trying to fix this. So what did we get by way of tribute then? How terrible was it? One silty clay. Yes, that was pretty terrible, really. I don't know that we can actually make our own silty clay, but yes, it is now midnight, and like everything's more or less organised here. What's that? Oh, it's crossbow and someone's leg. Well, let's unforbid the crossbow and allow it to be stored somewhere. Okay, I'm always slightly suspicious when. Oh, yes, of course the water level's changed. We've just dug a piece of the dug out a bit of the beach, so now we can also mark that. To be dug out as well. And like, to be honest, I don't think I care enough about that armour. Let's let it fall into the sea if it wants to. Not like there's a shortage of other things in the sea. Including dead goblins that we hurled in there. It's now got 3 goblin cages in, but I bet it's still not full enough that we're even going to think about moving it. No. So why are those 2 pieces of goblin not being stored in a minecart yet, I wonder? Oh, we get more things that are accidentally forbidden.
Right. Continue. Enjoy your goblin body parts, or your lack of goblin body parts.
Yes, it's all so tidy. It's not very tidy, but it's slightly tidier.
System.
I mean, possibly we also want to start making efforts to dispose of other things by similar means, like all the leather armour they bring with them, which we can't melt down. But yes, that's all looking nice. We've even got a system for throwing goblin cages into the sea, and well, throwing goblins into the sea, ideally ejecting them from their cages in the process, which seems to work. And like is probably less efficient in terms of reducing the number of objects in the world than the atom smasher. But on the other hand, each goblin does only turn into one object as a result. So like it's not that inefficient. Oh, an elven caravan has arrived. Well, we should deal with them next time. I'm not going to try to do that now. So that's an excellent excuse for me to say that that will be all for tonight. And save, and find the button that says good night. Good night.